And
well,
at some point, I'm just gonna kind of I'll remember these first few seconds of what everyone's saying, and I'll be able to sync
yeah,
it.
you'll absolutely remember that.
Yeah, dude, I've got look. Here's the thing. Already, I've got a very fond memory of of me claiming that I've got a good memory and you calling me out on it. So yeah, I
How
think
about
I'm gonna remember
why don't you
these.
do like you say one, Rhett says two, and I say three.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, Rhett, are you on board with that?
I already pushed the button.
Yeah, no, that's fine, but I'm still gonna have a place in the audio file to sync everything up, even though we're already like 40 seconds in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One.
Two.
Three.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of Legends of Domillitha. This is the D&D podcast that myself, Justin, as well as my friends Josh, Rhett, and Vinnie are working on. Just a bit of an overview. This first episode is going to be a little bit strange in comparison to what I have planned for the rest of this series. The primary difference between this episode and what I have planned is that this episode has pretty terrible audio quality. So what I'm going to be doing instead of just letting it play and editing it together, I'm going to try and tell a cohesive story of what has happened so far. It's only been 2 sessions. And I will, as I come across clips that work and don't sound absolutely terrible, because like I said again, there was really bad audio quality with our first recording, I will insert those so that you guys can get at least an idea of how myself, as a DM, how I operate, and as well as how Josh and Rhett and Vinnie play the game as their characters. I'm going to start off in just a little bit with an overview of the world as a whole, and then I'll get into the players and the characters that they've got. So before any of that, I do want to disclose something right off the bat. There are going to be similarities in what happens to a very particular source on the internet. Um, I don't necessarily want to disclose what that source is right off the bat. Um, I think after at least this first, if not second episode, it'll be pretty obvious for those of you guys who are familiar with it. But I don't. Um, you know what? Fuck it. A lot of what I do is a lot of what I've based this campaign off of is something called the SCP Foundation. It's the Secure, Contain, Protect wiki on the internet. It's a open source for fiction writers to post creepy stories written under the auspices of an organization that has worked to document these creatures and artifacts and so on and so forth in order to protect the Earth. And a lot of it gets into alternate dimension travel and very murderous creatures that are able to move faster than the eye can perceive, and uh, just items that are able to manipulate how people think and how people act and stuff like that. And so if you are at all familiar with that wiki, you're going to recognize a lot of the names, a lot of the locations, but and in particular, you guys will recognize some of the SCPs that I'm drawing a lot of my inspiration from. That being said, I do want to make it abundantly clear that I am using the SCP Foundation as a jumping off point for what I'm planning on doing. Like, I'm mostly just using the names and the general premise as just a jumping off point for what I want to do as a whole. Just just an example right off the bat. The characters encounter Cain and Abel, which are SCPs 076 and 073, I believe. I use their description as they appear in the wiki. Cain with his blue metal arms, and Abel with his red tattoos all over his body and his sword, as well as some of the interesting quirks about them, like the fact that Cain destroys plant life within a certain distance of him, and Abel, when he dies, he turns to ash and is reborn inside of his stone sarcophagus. Things like that I'll keep. The wiki in general is, it's not absolute, and it's not, certainly it's not by any means complete. It's small stories that are intended, like creepypastas are, to get the mind going and get you thinking about what might be possible and what might be out there, I'm using this campaign as an opportunity for me to develop on my own side exactly what's out there. So it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be dramatic at times, but you guys will see pretty much immediately that the players in general are really able to bounce ideas off of each other and really interact on a character level. It's amazing, honestly. But just keep an eye out if you're familiar with the SCP Foundation. There's not going to be a huge benefit in general to looking up the SCPs that I'm referencing, except for maybe some of the more obscure ones possibly. But like I said, I'm using it as a jumping off point, and I will be exploring what they're capable of, and ways to stop them is a big theme of this. Like they're being contracted to deal with these artifacts, but that's enough about the campaign. Let's get into the characters. First of all, we've only got the 3 players. We've only got Josh, Rhett, and Vinnie, and it's the players. We'll start off with Rhett. Rhett is playing Calder Silverwind, the human druid. He used to belong to a druidic tribe, and he was out on a pilgrimage, as is tradition for his people when they come of age. And when he returned, they had been, the entire tribe had been destroyed by some sort of elemental devastation. He was able to retrieve a dragon scale from the wreckage of his village, and has set out across Domillitha in order to figure out what happened to them. Then there's Vinnie. She is playing a skeleton dread fighter, and you'll notice that in the player's handbook, and even in some of the extra books for D&D 5e, neither skeleton as a race nor dread fighter as a class appear in them by default, and that's because I have always been a huge fan of using homebrew classes, races, creatures, things like that. The D&D community is great when it comes to that. So obviously the skeleton race, specifically it's classified as the awakened undead race. However, that underneath that race there are 3 options. You can either be a skeleton, a revenant, or a ghost, just depending on which stats you're really looking for, or what sort of a backstory really you want your character to have. They've got all of the undead traits, except potions and healing do work on them because of their awakened nature. You are immortal, effectively. You've got some sort of a past life. You don't necessarily have to remember what that past life is, and Rhys, in this case, doesn't. And that's the mystery that Rhys is trying to solve. Rhys is looking for what happened to them before they died? What led to their death? More importantly, why are they back? Rhys is under the impression that they have been brought back with a purpose, and to that end they sought out the person who raised them from the dead originally, and that is Lialynn, Josh's character. She is a high elf sorcerer, and again, this is getting into homebrew stuff, but I've tweaked the sorcerer wild magic class, basically, and mixed it with a necromantic bloodline that I found for as far as homebrew stuff. It's the death-touched sorceress bloodline. So I kind of intermingled those because Lialynn has an interesting trait with her wild magic. There are times where her wild magic specifically manifests as necromancy. And at one point, when Lialynn was running away from from the coppers, she had to cast some magic in order to defend herself. And the wild magic that manifested there ended up raising Rhys from the dead. And Rhys spent a couple years tracking down Lialynn and decided to follow her around and figure out exactly what purpose Lialynn had brought Rhys back for. That does it for the characters. Those are the 3 characters so far. The party originally started in a town that actually doesn't appear on the map, a town called Yondril in Glitterhold Forest. They actually, technically they didn't start there. The party started on the run from the town of Yondril when they were driven out of town because a slight altercation resulted in it being found out that Rhys was not a person, was in fact a skeleton. The townspeople of Yondril didn't take too kindly to that, so the militia chased them out that night, and when they fled, they ended up somewhere in the Glitterhold Forest. The party had originally kind of united, doing a job, just like a bounty board sort of a job in the Glitterhold Forest that Calder had insisted that he join them on because it could potentially hold clues towards his people's disappearance. And he's just kind of stuck around for the weeks since then. So they fled southward out of Yondril, trying to get away from these townspeople, and kind of near the southwestern edge of the forest, they ended up finding a abandoned church of Mystra, with a tall 3-story tower rising out of it. And it was pretty late. They were looking for a place to stay, and they decided to explore this church of Mystra. The church held several interesting items and a secret. There was a shattered locket inscribed with the symbol of a key, a journal with the name Abel on the front, and a trap door descending about 80 feet into a cavernous basement. The journal described the attempts made by a number of individuals to create a powerful weapon by forcing psionic powers into a number of test subjects. These initial test subjects died from the effects, but 9 children from a later attempt survived, their brains being subdued and nearly all motor functions and bodily necessities layered over with enchantments to keep them subservient to their newfound masters. Inside the cavern, the party found just that. 9 children lashed to poles, guarded by a swordsman with crimson geometric tattoos. Rhys delivered the killing blow to this guardian, who declared them to be a worthy combatant, and while the party retrieved the children, he turned to ash on the ground. Later that night, Lialynn, Rhys, and Calder were approached by a gentleman who claimed to be representing an ally of theirs. Naturally, the party was skeptical and tried to ignore him, However, he put Calder to sleep and delivered him to a man in his dreams named Charles, who explained that the creators of these children were on their way to protect their property. He urged Calder to take them from the church and head south to meet another colleague of his. Rhys and Lialynn took this opportunity while Calder was sleeping to seriously consider abandoning him just right there on the church cobbles. However, after just a few minutes, he awoke and led them south, closer to the edge of the forest with the kids in tow. Shortly after making camp and after Calder explained the urgency of their flight, the party was approached by a man with iridescent blue metal arms and legs, who introduced himself as Cain. He took the psionic children off of their hands and directed them south across the Arbonne plains to a farmhouse that previously belonged to the Bonifay family, where numerous reports of missing people had begun popping up over the recent months.
You guys leave the tree line. To the east, you can see the edges of the Black Marsh, like way out on the horizon. Just kind of these weird, twisted, gnarled trees. But for the most part, you guys are avoiding that. You guys are heading south, almost kind of southeast, towards what you can see on that horizon as just a lone couple buildings built kind of close to each other on these plains. And it's only about a day and a half more travel before you guys reach that, and you guys actually arrive at the Bonifay farmhouse.
So what's our story for being here?
What do you mean?
Is there anything else around here, or is it just like
So the farmhouse itself, like it's got farmland around it. It's actually got quite a bit of it. The vast majority of it is like overgrown. The like kind of lawn around the farmhouse itself, as well as the farmhouse consists of actually 3 buildings. There's what looks to be more of like a communal like meeting building, I guess, and then there's a barn, and there's like a small apartment sort of a building that looks like it's got several, like maybe about a half a dozen to a dozen rooms for other people.
The Bonifay farmhouse featured several items that seemed to be enchanted. There was a photo album inside the main house that held photographs that caused Lialynn to hear the voices of children playing, and Rhys began playing a banjo on the porch, unable to stop themselves, although for anyone else there was no sound coming from it. Rhys, however, was also hearing children playing, but also the sound of a mother calling them to come get dinner. And hanging from the tree was a tire swing that just swung gently on its own without any wind.
There's some crazy magic shit happening here.
What?
The pictures are talking to me.
I'm not paying attention. I'm picking up this banjo.
Cool. Can you make a wisdom saving throw for me?
Heck yes, I can. Heck yes, I can.
Oh no!
What'd you make?
13.
13? Oh, that's not gonna cut it.
Yeah!
Calder, were you up there with Rhys when they picked up the banjo?
I guess, yeah.
Sure.
I was.
Okay. So, you hear Lialynn talking about the fucked up magic shit that's going on here, and Rhys doesn't really seem to be paying all that much attention, because Rhys is just picking up this banjo and like sitting down in the chair and starts to strum it, but there's no music coming out. Like
You bet your ass I'm playing this banjo.
Rhys is like somehow in like gauntlets, he's somehow like really picking at this banjo.
I'm proficient in mandolins.
You what?
I'm proficient in mandolins.
How?
My background. Let me pick an instrument. I'm proficient in
Okay,
mandolins.
so that's fantastic. You've never seen Rhys touch a mandolin or a similar instrument since you've met them. But they're sitting there and they are just going to town on this banjo. But there is absolutely no sound coming from it. There's no twang. There's nothing. Rhys, you, however, are hearing like the best banjoing ever, and you're getting really into it. You're actually starting to hear other voices at this point. You can hear the sounds. You can hear the sounds of kids playing, like Lialynn did. But on top of that, you also hear the sound of a woman who's saying, "Come on, y'all, get inside. Dinner's almost ready." And you're just going to town, and you're not really.
Oh, very good at this.
So Calder, what you see, Rhys is just like zoned out, like not moving except for their fingers.
Hey there. I forgot.
Hey there, boner.
Hey,
Hey there, boat man. Hey,
Hey
you
there.
skeleton dude.
hey there, Skeller guy. You kind of you're not really good at that, are you?
Rhys, you don't hear any of this.
After exploring the house, they found a cellar, inside of which there was a table inscribed with druidic runes of binding, specifically tuned to a water spirit. They discovered matching runes carved into the inside of the well, and Calder was pretty sure he knew what that meant. But inside a chest in the cellar was a legal document, outlining the insurance claim that the Bonifades had received after a horrific wildfire swept through the area nearly 90 years prior. Outside of the cellar, though, they heard the well beginning to pull the bucket up on its own. Rhys, of course, checked this bucket to see if it was particularly suspicious, and a watery hand grabbed them by their face and pulled them into the well. A water elemental burst from the well, scattering a handful of shards of glass that knocked Lialynn unconscious, and both she and Rhys woke up in the same place. The same farmhouse, but 82 years prior, on the day that the wildfire swept through.
At this point, a older guy, looks to be in like his late 30s, maybe early 40s, in overalls and boots, and a flannel shirt, like walks up and he's like, y'all lost?
Yeah, you can say that.
Hello.
What kind of enchantments have you laid around this place?
I beg your pardon, I ain't magical of any kind. I just the name's Bonifay, Gerald Bonifay. I just run this here farm.
That's pretty neat. I can tell you for a fact that you on that tire swing there at some point there's an enchantment, and you've got a scrapbook I believe inside that has an enchantment on it, and a banjo with an enchantment on it. So if you didn't do it, maybe you hired someone to do it.
And what in the Nine Hills are you talking about right now? Like none of what you're saying is making any sense. I tell you, me and mine, we don't know any magic.
Well, maybe you hired someone to do magic then.
With what money? That's a right funny joke you got there. Look, you guys look like you could use some food. Do you wanna head inside? My lady is about to be done with dinner pretty soon, and I guess at least some hospitality is owed.
Niall,
What?
I don't eat.
Well, that's a good point. You can pretend it though.
I think you are. But I can't take the mask off.
What wrong then? You're like a plague doctor, right?
How am I going to eat?
Look, if y'all would rather not stick around, I don't blame you. I'm just saying it's getting pretty close to nighttime, and at this point he kind of looks to the north and he's like, and there's a bit of a storm brewing and probably going to be on its way down this way here soon. So, at the very least, I would recommend spending the night here.
Right. Well, there's a couple things that we have to lay out here for a moment. My friend here and I are a couple of investigators. We're looking into a series of kidnappings and murders in the area. And,
Is that so?
that is so.
Well, damn, I hope they don't come from my kids.
that's one of the reasons that we're here. The children have been targeted, and we wanted to make sure that see if you had any idea for a reason why anybody would come and target you.
Not that I know of. My brother ain't exactly been the most. I don't want to talk bad about him, but he's strayed from the good path a few too many times. That's why I'm letting him stay here, get himself back on, get his feet back under him, and help out his kids since they don't got no mama to speak of. But
strayed from the good path in what way?
He got into smuggling out of Arbonne down to the southeast.
Nothing violent though.
Not that I know of, but he ain't really one to talk about his past deeds.
Not one of us are.
I'll tell you what though, you can ask him as soon as he gets here. He and his little darling should be back here real soon. They said they'd be back before sunset in order to get some more things for dinner.
Do you mind terribly if I have a look down in here in your cellar here?
Yeah, absolutely. Just use it for storage mostly. Let me open it up for you. And he walks over to the cellar and pulls a key out of one of the pockets on his overalls and unlocks the padlock and pulls open the doors for you. And I don't mean to be rude, but I don't much want to be wasting a torch down there. You elf types can see in the dark, can't you?
Yeah, it's no problem. My partner will stay up here if you don't mind.
Well,
I want to get locked in a cellar.
That's perfectly all right. I got some stuff to finish up in the yard. And it's clear that he's trying to avoid looking at Rhys, like just kind of like this armored figure, completely like not showing any skin or face or anything like that. It's kind of like off-settling to Papa Bonifay. But he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go finish up the day's chores. If you guys have any questions, feel free to come find me. I'm sure Marge could answer some things if you need her to.
All right, thank you very much.
Kind of wanders off.
While Lialynn and Rhys were exploring the farmhouse in ye olden times, Calder decided to try and get the water elemental's attention by casting Destroy Water into the well. And he succeeded. The water elemental burst forth and touched him, driving him unconscious and back to the old Bonifay farmhouse as well. Reunited at last, Lialynn pointed out one of Papa Bonifay's brother's children who was not present in the photograph that Lialynn had taken from the photo album in the present day. Despite Calder's protests, he was told to go and figure out if that child was responsible for them all being here.
That little one right there isn't supposed to exist, so my guess is that she's part of the enchantment there. You should go over there and see if you can root half the claws there, Mr. Magic Man. I'll hold down the home front and make sure that the parents don't get all weird about you talking to a 4-year-old.
And you want me to do what exactly?
Find out if she's the source of the enchantment. Figure out if there's anything weird about her.
1 minute?
That might involve talking to her there, Casanova.
How do you talk to a 4-year-old?
You go up and you're like, hey there, are you the one keeping us here? And if it's like, yes, I'm the one keeping us here, then yes! Then she's the one! If she talks like a 4-year-old, then you might have to, like, talk a little longer. But if she doesn't talk like a 4-year-old, she's probably it.
Right. I'll go.
You get on that!
Right? So, Rhys, you've got a very good view of everything that's about to happen between Calder and a 4-year-old girl.
Oh yes, I am intense. I am watching this.
Okay, so for the most part, they're just kind of like running around, like playing like real bad game of tag, you know. But yeah, they're just enjoying life. Rhett, this is the part where you start saying things.
I don't know what to say.
That's great. That's in character.
Hello, little girl.
Hey there. What are you all playing?
We're playing tag.
Oh boy, that sounds fun.
Hey, Mister, do you want to play hide and seek with us?
Sure.
And that is the littlest girl. That is my very best little girl sound voice that I can do. Noise sound voice. Yeah. So you're gonna play hide and seek with them?
Sure. I'll look first. You all go hide.
You okay? Remember, no peeking and count to 10.
I am watching.
That's cool. Oh, I don't give a fuck. I have this magical thing called the GM layer. They all scatter.
No,
while
I
you're
mean like
standing.
in character. I am watching.
Oh, you're watching them.
I am
run
watching
off.
where
Okay.
she runs.
So you watch. Oh goodness. So for the most part, they all just kind of like scatter. You see, two of them, actually kind of like hop over the fence, just kinda, and then like run northwards, like using the fence and the corn to like hide themselves. You see two of them run around the north side of the house, and then you see the little girl and what you assume is one of her brothers run along the south side of the house.
I'm going to go find them first.
Okay, fantastic. Go ahead and give me an. How are you gonna try and find them? Are you gonna use your magical like RPG player skills to try and track these motherfuckers down, or?
I'll track their footprints. I have survival. Jesus Christ, what are we doing right now?
You're the one that decided to play hide and seek with some children.
I'm the one that has to talk to a 4-year-old, apparently. 14.
Rhys was making sure to keep an eye out for anything that might be trouble on the horizon, and shortly after their arrival, the storm to the north that Papa Bonifay had pointed out to the heroes when they first arrived had started a fire on the edge of the Glitterhold forest, and it seemed like it was now surging across the Arbonne plains towards them. The fire was advancing alarmingly quickly, burning across the plains faster than it should have been. Rhys alerted the Bonifays and Lialynn, and they immediately evacuated everyone into the stone cellar to wait out the inferno. Outside, however, on the other side of the house, Calder was still trying to find that little girl, who had effectively evaded him in their game of hide-and-seek. Frustrated and desperate, he turned into a wolf to sniff her out, but in the process scared her. When he shapeshifted back into his human form, she was willing to jump out of the tree into his arms, but in the process knocked herself out and broke her leg along the way down, barely getting caught in time. Calder took a moment to heal her wounds before quickly carrying her and running back to the rest of the party, just in time to see a young fire elemental who had been stirring up and driving this inferno across the plains arrive at the farmhouse. They quickly prepared for the battle.
Calder, you come running around the corner. Lialynn and Rhys are like ready to jump in, and the leading edge of the fire reaches you guys.
So does that mean we see the elemental?
Oh yeah, you see the elemental.
I'd like to cast Ray of Sickness on it.
Okay. What does that do?
If I land a spell attack, it does 2d8 points of damage, and if he doesn't resist a save, he's poisoned for the next round.
Oh Jesus!
What's my spell attack modifier? Oh, +5. I got a 18 to attack.
You got an 18?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is gonna hit. What sort of saving throw does it need to make?
Constitution.
Constitution. What's the DC on that?
13.
13. 14. Oh, wait, no, he's immune to poison, so it doesn't matter. Does it deal poison damage?
No, it just... I'm not sure. Let me pull it up again.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It does 2d8 poison damage.
Fuck. Either
Yeah,
way, you me to roll for wild magic.
Yes, I do want you to roll for wild.
What's that?
I rolled a nat 20 for wild magic.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. That's great. Yeah, so the Ray of Sickness, like, hits it square on, and it just snarls and smiles. And I want all of you guys to go ahead and roll initiative for me.
Oh boy.
That's real upsetting.
That could have been a really, really great start.
I know.
That could have, like, potentially ruined the entire fight.
I got an 11.
An 11? Is that right?
Yeah.
Alright then.
I got 16.
Oh. We got a, 5.
You got a 5.
5.
That's great. This thing, from your experiences, Calder, you in particular, this thing doesn't look as big as other fire elementals that you've seen, like, that your tribe, like, would conjure periodically. Like, in the grand scheme of things, this one seems pretty small.
Oh, it's a baby.
It doesn't look like a baby.
Oh, it's just a wee one. It's fine.
Oh, are you making fun of me?
He's gonna be starting off.
Oh no.
Oh man. Alright, so yeah, so he's just gonna come right up to Lialynn, and he's gonna just like reach out and try and grab you.
You're gonna what? No.
What's your armor class?
It's that's great. Let me have a look. See here. 14.
Oh yeah. So he actually misses you. Damn. 14?
Yeah.
That's annoying.
14.
Okay, so yeah, you just kind of like duck under the flaming hand, and he kind of like snarls at you. Calder, you're up.
Can I yell something at Calder?
Sure.
Colin, what are you doing? Get the girl in the cellar!
It's by the cellar. How can I can't get past it.
Well, you're holding the little girl!
I'm going to turn. No, wait, she's unconscious. Fuck.
Hold on, I'll try and clear it for you.
I'm going to be shaped to a lion.
Rhys, it's your turn.
Colin, what are you... Whatever. Lyle! Go get the girl! We need to get her in the cellar!
I'm in the middle of fighting a fireman.
Well, stop it! You're a weak piece of shit!
Please come after me.
And I'm going to run at the fireman and tackle him.
You're gonna tackle the fireman.
Yeah. Like,
Okay, are you trying to grapple him?
I'm trying to get him, like, to push him out of the way of the cellar.
Okay, go ahead and make an attack roll.
What do I add to that? What is my regular attack bonus?
I don't know. I think that's something that you're supposed to know.
I mean, I've got it written down for my swords. Is it just the same?
Yeah,
for
no,
that?
you'll be proficient in this as well. So just like do the.
So that's a 7.
Oh, yeah. You go to shove it, and it just kind of like recoils around you and kind of like shapes its body around your hands and like laughs in your face.
Well, that's just rude.
Lialynn, it's your turn. Rip that spell slot, am I right?
I'm going to cast Frostbite on it.
Hey.
It has to make a Constitution saving throw.
Oh boy. What's the DC?
13.
I've rolled a natural 14.
Nothing happens.
All right.
So
amazing.
I'm gonna run away now, and I don't provoke an attack of opportunity because I attacked it.
What feat are you going?
Nobility.
Or-
I get a +10 to
And
my
it's a-
movement, and if I make a attack, whether I hit or not, I get free, like essentially.
I'm looking at it. Hang on. When you make a melee attack against
it's
a creature, you
oh.
don't provoke opportunity
Oh
attacks.
shit!
So you are going to be taking an opportunity attack from this guy. And that's a natural 20.
Oh, fuck.
Now I die.
You should have just disengaged.
I mean, I should have, but I thought I didn't have to.
Big idiot.
So you take 9 points of damage.
And I'm also down a heal because the klutz over there.
I have 1 health left.
Hey, who didn't catch the girl?
I didn't tell her to climb the tree.
Who's the klutz?
Who had her go and hide in the first place? Calder?
The other kids? We were playing hide and seek.
Definitely all of the other kids. Definitely all of them. If she dies, this is going to weigh on all of their consciences. Okay. Lialynn's fine. It's a fire elemental, and he's just gonna... what is he gonna do? So you took 9 damage, and the fire elemental is gonna walk into Rhys.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then what?
And then Rhys is gonna take some damage.
Oh boy.
Did we start out with any?
Damn it! You take 1 damage!
Did we start out with any health potions?
I don't know, did you?
Only the ones
I
that
don't-
we would have started with.
You guys will have a chance to go to the city of Arbonne after this.
Woohoo! 30 gold.
Do some shopping. But yeah, so you took 1 damage, Rhys, as it just kind of like walked, and you guys watch as this fire elemental just kind of like swallows Rhys up. Calder, it's your turn.
I'm going to run up, and I am going to take a swipe at it.
Okay.
Would you say Rhys is within 5 feet of the creature?
Yeah, I would say so.
Are they-
I would even say that Rhys is 5 feet within the creature.
Are they incapacitated?
Rhys? Nah.
Okay.
Rhys is still like kicking, you know.
Okay.
Literally.
Literally
So
soon.
I get advantage. And I rolled the same thing. 21.
21? Yeah, that hits.
Okay. What's the damage die? Damage is a 6. So he takes 6 damage, and he has to make a DC 13 strength saving throw.
Okay. As you swipe at him, you singe your paws. for
Ow.
2 damage.
Ow.
You said he has to make a strength saving throw?
Yeah.
What's the DC?
13.
Well, damn.
Did he not make it?
He didn't make it.
Ooh! Okay,
He got a 12.
so target is knocked prone. If the target is prone, the lion can make a bite attack against the target as a bonus action.
Motherfucker. Alright, so yeah, he's prone. He's on the ground. You can bite him.
16?
Yeah, that hits.
And the damage is a D8.
Oh boy.
For
Nom nom.
7 damage.
7 damage. And you
Take more damage.
take 4 damage.
Ow.
As yeah, it's gonna be a little tough to eat anything. So you did 6 and 7 damage?
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Rhys, it's your turn.
So, well, that didn't quite go out. So, I'm just gonna attack.
You're just gonna swing at it
Yeah.
from inside?
Yep. Two-handed,
Great.
long sword.
Just chopping away at that fire.
Yep.
Does- Does he get advantage? Does he get advantage because it's prone?
Shit, yeah, you get advantage on this.
That's good. 17.
That hits.
A 17. Thank you. Oh god, where's my pen? 12 damage.
12 damage.
Yeah!
Okay, and you are also taking damage.
Yeah!
You're taking 3 points of damage
Cool, I'm
as the flames like burst over you.
How much?
10 health. Yeah.
I thought you said you took 10. I was like, oh shit.
No, I've taken a total of 8 so far.
And how much damage did you do again?
What?
How much damage did you do? 11? 12 damage?
Yeah.
Okay. Gucci. Are you gonna stay in the fire elemental?
No. I'm going to back up to stand between it and Lyle.
Oh, great.
What a guy.
Lialynn, it's your turn.
I'm gonna cast False Life on myself. So I get 1 plus 1d4 points of health. I got 5 points of health. I'm feeling quite a bit better now.
What else are you gonna do?
Well, I'm gonna roll for Wild Magic.
Oh yeah, that's
I got
a
10. I'm all good. And then, I'm gonna stand right here. I'm gonna stay right here.
Go get the girl!
It's in the way still. We have to deal with it first.
Can't just leave it there!
Well, I mean, it's better than her being right next to the fire, huh?
So yeah, you guys are both gonna get attacks of opportunity on it.
Woo!
Ooh, 24.
22?
Oh goodness gracious! Yeah, both of those hit.
Damn it. If only a crit on a 19.
12 again.
12 again.
Yeah! I rolled 2 9s for damage.
7 damage.
Okay, yeah. It's like honestly, after that, it's not looking too good. You guys, Rhys, you take 3 damage, and Calder, you take 4 damage, from the flames. It's not looking too good. It's like flickering, and kind of like jumping around a lot.
Yeah, I'm not really looking the best either, so...
Yeah, but it really doesn't like the fucking lion that keeps eating it.
I only tried it once.
Yeah, and you regretted it immensely. So he's gonna go ahead and do both of his attacks against them.
I'm gonna regret it even more.
What's your armor class?
12. Because I'm assuming I just used the lions.
Yeah. So the first one misses. The second one though hits. And you take. Wow. Okay, hang on. I gotta. Yeah, you take 8 points of damage.
Ow!
And it's really upset with you. Calder, it's your turn.
Fuck it, I'm just gonna bite it.
You're just going after it?
Yep.
You're biting it, you said?
Yeah. 13?
13 just barely hits.
Oh, thank God. Ooh, 9 damage.
9 damage. It is really, really not looking good at all. And you also take 4 points of damage from the flames.
My health just keeps getting halved.
Rhys, it's your turn.
Let's see what I've got for it. I'm gonna use one of my ambient magic things and grant advantage on attack rolls for this round.
Ooh, exciting.
And that's just personal, right?
Mhm.
So, and I'm gonna. Is that an action to do that? I don't.
No, it's a
assume-
bonus action.
No, that should
It's
be
a
it should be a bonus action.
Oh yeah. Alrighty. Here I do. Alright, so 14.
That hits.
Oh, sweet.
Second killing blow.
8 damage.
8 damage? How do you want to do this?
How can you do this?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like made of fire.
It's like flickering and
So-
stuff. How do you kill it?
I want to like take my sword, right, and stab it into the fire elemental, and just kind of swish it around until all the fire dissipates.
Okay. That's great. I do want to point out that you do take 5 points of damage from vigorously whisking the fire elemental.
I have 2.
Jesus.
I have 2.
We're getting fucked.
But it goes kaput. Congratulations.
Just eat the fire.
Just eat the fire. Yeah, and it just kind of like collapses, and there's this small smoldering core, just laying in the grass there at your feet.
Can I pick it up?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to pick it up?
Yeah. What's it look like?
You take it.
I mean, like it's just like this kind of like flickering like black opal.
I want it. Can I keep it?
I guess. Yeah. So yeah, you've got a fire elemental core.
Yay!
With Rhys dealing the killing blow to the fire elemental that had created this wildfire in the first place, the party took a moment to catch their breath before getting the little girl back to her father and settling the effects of what had befallen the Bonifay family. Thanks for listening to the first episode of this podcast. If you enjoyed it, share it with a friend. Listen to it in the office. Let other people around you hear my dulcet tones describing this adventure. And most importantly, assure them and yourselves that the quality can only go up from here, guys. I'll be working on getting these out on a regular basis. So subscribe on YouTube, follow me on SoundCloud, all that good stuff if you're excited for where this story is going, for what I've got in store for you guys, so that you guys can get that nice little notification whenever I drop a new episode. Other than that, I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you at the next session.